The picture looks great also.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm just gonna take it inside.
Yeah.
Good morning and welcome to City Council meeting for Tuesday, March 22nd. And as turn the time over to Madam Clerk to do a roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor Hagan. Councillor Campbell.
Present.
Councillor Carlson.
Here.
Councillor Middleton Hope.
Present.
Councillor Palladino.
Present.
Councillor Parker.
Present.
Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
Here.
Acting Mayor Dodick.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Croson.
Present.
And Mayor Hagan.
Present.
All present. Thank you.
Thank you. Now move on to the acknowledgement statement. The City of Lethbridge acknowledges that we're gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains and pays respect to the Blackfoot people past, present, and future while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationships to the land. The City of Lethbridge is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. I'll start off with bouquets. To my far left, Councillor Acting Mayor Dodick.
Nothing today, thank you.
Next, Thank you, Councillor Campbell.
I get that a lot. But anyway, no, the city has a dynamic running community, and one of the big events and one of the biggest runs of the year, and has been for so long, is the Moonlight Run, and it happened on the weekend. 35 years, back in the day, I used to run it, but situations being that what they are, I haven't been able to, but congratulations to Sean and Aaron Pinder who run Runner's Soul, and they keep this going, and it's just a fantastic night, and I want to congratulate them for putting it on and continuing it with it, and also congratulations to the handful of runners that have actually run all 35, which is pretty remarkable. So just bouquet to them.
Excellent. Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Mayor Hagan. Big shout out to the Geomatic Attic Allied Arts Council of Lethbridge and Sonic Multimedia. They did 3 concerts over 2 days as part of their Upside Downtown Winterfest. It certainly didn't feel like winter during the concerts. It was a gorgeous weekend, but we had 12 hours of music. All the bands were local artists, and once again, I was blown away by the caliber of talent and amazing musicianship and artistry we have in this community. So congratulations to the organizers and all involved. Thank you.
Excellent. Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
Thank you very much. Shout out to Lethbridge College and their Disruptor Series. On March 10th, they hosted Peter Mansbridge. It was attended by a lot of great number of students and members of the community, and it was a really great session and an opportunity to learn from a great member of our Canadian media. And then also shout out to Economic Development Lethbridge. They hosted their AGM on March 17th, where they reported that in 2021, they returned $475 of direct economic impact for every $1 of funding received from the city of Lethbridge. So that is some good investment on our part. Thank you very much.
Excellent. To my far right, Councillor Middleton Hope.
Nothing, thank you, Your Worship.
Deputy Mayor Croson.
Nothing, thank you.
Councillor Palladino.
I have nothing today.
Councillor, who do we got? Parker, left. Councillor Parker.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. And yes, I do want to give a shout out for that Moonlight Run too. That was a fantastic event. I do recall the first one. I don't know if that dates me, but that was quite the event, and it's great to see that continuing, especially after through COVID and back on again. Another one is I had the opportunity of attending a ringette tournament, the U14C, had hosted here in Lethbridge, and it was an amazing turnout, and what a fantastic event, and another way to showcase our community. And the last one here is this morning I had the opportunity of attending the college with a cow, literally, and a few goats and chickens as they were ushered into the lobby of the college for the Ag Club celebration for Southern Alberta agriculture, and it's quite the event going on there, and there's a lot of excitement, and we know that what agriculture does, especially with this agri-food hub corridor that we have throughout Southern Alberta. It was great to see those students. There's about 70 each year that are in that Ag Club, and it's quite amazing to see what they bring in the perspective that's brought to our community, so thank you for them. We'll hop on to the adoption of the agenda. And I do have a resolution from Acting Mayor Dodick that the agenda of the regular meeting of City Council on March 22nd, 2022 be adopted as presented.
Madam Clerk, are there any amendments to the agenda?
Thank you, Acting Mayor Dodick. There are 3 additions to the agenda. There are 3 urgent business proposed items that are noted in your agenda. They were included after the agenda was published. So they're the economic SPC items last Wednesday, the broadband pilot project, and the COVID-19 relief request, 14.9, 14.10, as well as 14.1, the airport incentive framework update. That's a confidential verbal report. Thank you.
Thank you. Then I'd call the question on the agenda as adopted. Oh, sorry, adopt the agenda as amended. I knew it was one of those two.
Question's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? So carries. Next, we have the consent agenda. I have a resolution from Deputy Mayor Croson. Be it resolved that minutes of the following meetings of City Council be approved and the Mayor and City Clerk be authorized to sign the same. And we'll start off with City Council meeting 2022-0308, and further be resolved that City Council receive for information the status of directed resolutions with the following amendments. That Council defer the date of return of the Community Wellbeing and Safety Strategy Advisory Committee governance model, update to recommendation to April 26, 2022 from March 22nd, 2022, and further be resolved that City Council approve the recommendations contained within the following Standing Policy Committee reports: Annual Sustainability Report, Off-Leash Parks, Industrial, Commercial, and Institutional, and Construction and Demolition Sectors, Waste Diversion Implementation Strategy, 2021 Annual Report, Curbside Organics Program Update, Snow and Ice Modifications, Pathways Along Roadways, Unaudited 2021 Year-End Financial Information, Broadband Pilot Project Proposed Urgent Business, and COVID-19 Relief Request Proposed Urgent Business, and further be resolved that City Council provide first reading to the following bylaw. Bylaw 6352, Land Use Bylaw Amendment 3266, Giffen Road North, 3222, Giffen Road North, 3417, 22nd Street North, and 3373, 32nd Street North. And further be resolved that City Council schedule a public hearing on Tuesday, April 26, 2022 at 4 p.m. for the following bylaw. Bylaw 6352. Deputy Mayor Croson.
Thank you, Mayor Higgin. As you've read out, there are 11 items under there. It is a large consent agenda. Most of the information is for receiving for information, and hopefully everybody has read through. I am going to request, though, that 4.7 be pulled out to committee submissions under 8.1. Though it's a good news story, it is a service level enhancement, and I just think that should be on the agenda proper. With that, unless there are any other questions, I will call the question.
Now, just to confirm that, it was 4 point, Deputy Mayor?
Yes, the snow and ice modification.
4.7, thank you.
I do have one question, and it's with respect to item 4.8, the unaudited 2021 year-end financial information. And I had indicated to the City Treasurer, Mr. Matthews, that I would ask a question, and that was simply with respect to an explanation as to the one-time transfers that are referred to, going from $1 million to airport reserve and $3,630,000 to parking reserve, $995,000 to the parking reserve to offset revenue pressure, and so on. Just a brief explanation as to those.
To your worship and to Acting Mayor Dodick, in regards to the reserve transfers, these are one-time reserve transfers to both of the off-street or acquire off-street park reserve and the airport reserve. If council remembers the last number of years, we've noted that those reserves have had pressures, and the pandemic has resulted in further pressures on those reserves. So for the airport reserve, it's a transfer of $1 million for the expected ongoing negative impacts of COVID-19 on that service. And then for the acquire off-street parking reserve, is $3.6 million to repay the internal loan on the park and ride facility, as well as $955,000, or $995,000, sorry, I think I got my math there wrong, in regards to one-time money for that reserve.
Thank you.
We do have 4.7, the consent agenda removed, and outside that, Deputy Mayor Crozan, anything to add? I see there's no more questions.
If there's no more questions, I'll call the vote.
Question's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? So carries.
Mayor Higgin, 4.7, the snow and ice, that will be moved to Section 8, committee submissions in the agenda. Thank you.
And we have no presentations, and we'll move directly on to official business, 6.1. And Deputy Mayor Crozan, if you want to take this, or Acting Mayor, I'm not sure if you have that in front of you, as I will vacate the chair. Acting Mayor.
I can take that, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so we have an official business resolution on Green Shirt Day. As soon as my computer opens up, we'll be fine here. All right. It is going to work. Or not. All right, my computer isn't going to like me. If Acting Mayor Dodick would like to read it out, that would be
Mayor
terrific.
Dodick.
Thank you.
Do we need to do this? You can do it from there. Thank you.
I can do it from here. Okay.
Put on a shirt.
All right, we have a resolution moved by Mayor Higgin, being read out by a guy not wearing a green shirt. The official business resolution 6.1. Whereas on April 6, 2018, Canadians were heartbroken to hear the news of the Humboldt Broncos bus crash. Of the 29 passengers, 16 lost their lives and 13 will bear physical and emotional scars for life. And whereas on April 7, 2018, Humboldt Broncos defenseman Logan Boulay succumbed to his injuries. His parents, Bernadine and Toby Boulay, offered to donate his organs as Logan told his parents he was registering as an organ donor as he was inspired by his coach and mentor, Rick Suggett, who saved 6 lives as an organ donor in 2017. And whereas 6 lives were saved by Logan donating his organs, the news spread of the organ donation by this young hockey player, and it is estimated that almost 150,000 people registered to become organ donors in the days and weeks that followed. To date, this has been the largest number of Canadians registering to become organ donors in Canadian history due to one event, one person, And whereas Green Shirt Day was created to honor, remember, and recognize all the victims and families of that fatal crash, and to continue Logan's legacy by inspiring Canadians to talk to their families and register as organ donors. And whereas on January 11, 1999, City Council passed a resolution stating the Mayor's office would discontinue the long-standing practice of issuing proclamations to avoid endorsements for a cause or program that would result in controversy in the community. And whereas the current City Council requests an exception to the resolution passed at that time for this extraordinary cause, therefore be it resolved that Council provide an exception to the January 11, 1999 resolution and request the Mayor's office to proclaim April 7, 2022 as Green Shirt Day as a tribute to City of Lethbridge resident Logan Boulay. Mayor Higgin.
I pretty much captured it in the OBR there, and I guess, well, if there's any, I don't know if there's any questions there. I don't have anybody in the queue. I guess this is one advantage of you being over here, I guess, right? There's no questions in the queue, Deputy Mayor. Or Acting Mayor, sorry.
Okay, well then we go into debate. Since it's your resolution, you get to go first.
And I'll close if there's anybody else that is in. I do not see anyone. So I will just, it pretty much captures here, this is the fourth year that this has been done, and it's something that is of great importance. It's passed each and every year that we've done this. It brings awareness, as was indicated here in the resolution. And I just wanted to add one more thing, that on April 7th, there will be a free skate from 4:30 to 7:30 at the Logan Boulay Arena, and welcome all to come out on that day. So with that, I'm just asking for council support to once again have this Green Shirt Day is a tribute to the City of Lethbridge resident Logan Boulay.
Okay, as that closes the debate, Mayor Hagan has called the question. The question has been called. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is passed unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to 6.2, official business from Councillor Middleton Hope, budget, appropriations, unexpended processes and procedures. Whereas the City of Lethbridge has developed efficient and innovative financial programs which has allowed the city to monitor and control the direction, allocation, and usage of its financial resources, whereas these fiscal programs guide the City of Lethbridge toward achieving its vision of being a healthy, attractive, and economically viable city. Whereas the summary of fiscal principles, practices, and policies highlights the city's financial control over assets, liabilities, funds, budgets, and expenditures that ensures the management of the city's financial operations, including transfer of unexpected funds to the budget appropriations unexpended BAU reserve for a special purpose with the city manager's approval. And whereas the FS1 approval, funding and reporting of operating budget variances policy specifically provides departments the ability to transfer unexpected funds, unexpended funds to the budget appropriations unexpended BAU reserve for a specified purpose with the city manager's approval. And whereas under current practice, if the BAU balance or reserve is no longer needed, the balance is transferred to the Municipal Revenue Stabilization Reserve, the MRSR. And whereas the above described policy contributes to sound financial management within multi-budget years, budgets to plan for financial pressures. Therefore, be it resolved that administration provide a report on examining efficiencies, processes, and procedures for the budget appropriations unexpended reserve to the Audit Standing Policy Committee of November 2nd, 2022, with the following report out to Economic Standing Policy Committee on November 4th, 2022, and subsequently to incorporate recommended policy updates to be approved by Council and Policy in first quarter of 2023. Open it up for questions. Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Mayor Higgin. Through you to the mover, if I can. Councillor Middleton Hope, the very last sentence in the actionable clause, subsequently it says, and subsequently to incorporate recommended policy updates to be approved by Council and Policy in the first quarter of 2023. Doesn't that kind of preclude any debate or discussion or open-mindedness if we're already saying that whatever they recommend, we're going to vote on and approve it? I'm wondering, I don't mind the report coming back with recommendations, but saying that whatever they are, we're immediately going to incorporate into policy without even knowing what they are, seems a little cart before the horse.
And we do like the cart before the horse. Perhaps Mr. Matthews would like to address that particular component in regards to the dates. So I worked closely with finance in regards to the drafting of this OBM, and as a result of that, the dates specifically speak to financial concerns.
To your worship, to Councillor Carlson, in regards to the dates in here, the date in question, some of this is due to timelines and trying to complete the work in regards to the report, which is the first section, which would go into audit committee, coming to economic SPC as the whole of council right as we're going into budget deliberations, just as a bit of a discussion point on the policy, and get some direction. And then going into 2023, we would work on any sort of, my understanding would we want to work on any sort of policy if it was going to become a council policy or any changes to the said policy from that report. So just sort of laying out the timeframes. In reality, it's trying to be honest, managing some of the workload and pressures.
Actually, maybe I'll stop you, Mr. Matthews. Thank you. I understand the timelines, but this resolution says we are today approving recommendations that haven't been made yet, but we will approve them. And that's my concern. I'd rather see the recommendations and discuss them and know what the implications are before saying whatever they are, we're approving them. Or am I misunderstanding?
I think you have a great, we'll take this back here, and if we know with Councillor Milton Hope and look at that. I think that's a fair comment, Councillor Carlson. In regards to this, I think the thought process was that anything that council would decide to do would be incorporated potentially in that process. So I think that's was the intent. It's not how it's written. Yeah.
Agreed. It makes me uncomfortable to raise my hand to say we're approving something without even seeing it first. So that's.
Would you be amenable to a friendly amendment then?
I just happen to have one here.
Oh, yep, please do.
Okay, so going on to the second page of the resolution, instead of reading as it is, I would suggest it says, report out to Economic Standing Policy Committee on November 14, 2022, and thereafter to recommend policy updates, if any, to council in the first quarter of 2023.
That suffice, Councillor Carlson?
That helps me because then it's just recommendations coming to council. We'll discuss them and incorporate the ones as we see fit.
And for a friendly, that's?
A happy face is what I'm looking for.
Okay, so we'll take that as a friendly, all right? Any further questions? Questions? Councillor Milton Hope to start with debate.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Belinda. Deputy Mayor Crowson.
Yes, thank you. I do have a question for the city manager or designate. We just approved in the consent agenda the status of directed resolution, which has 7 pages of resolutions that city staff are working on that have been given to them by city council. City manager, in general, what is the workload of your staff looking like at this time based on the resolutions we've already provided for you?
Through your worship, I think you've already kind of alluded to that, is that, you know, capacity versus demand. In some cases, there's an excess of work. So this, Mr. Matthews can definitely speak to the time and effort for this one alone, but it does admittedly take considerable time and effort during an already tight operating budget year. So it is definitely a factor. Mr. Matthews, if you want to add anything on this specific item.
To your worship, to Deputy Mayor Crowson, in regards to the timeframes and so forth. So the actual report is, you know, that my understanding of how we would do this and highlights that, you know, the current budget efficiencies over the BAU process and the procedures, as well as providing possible improvements to that, would probably take around 130 to 150 hours of staff time. That's a number of staff time in reviewing and so forth. Then, of course, there would be some work if council chose after that to do any work in related to a policy or policy changes.
Thank you very much. And my follow-up question to that for the city manager, would I assume your staff will say yes to almost anything that council throws in front of them?
It's a decent assumption. Yeah, I mean, it's you know, whatever's the will of council, but I think in saying yes, we want to make it clear at certain points is here are some things that might need to be stopped or deferred to deliver on these other objectives. And this is a good example with the operating budget year. There are some other things that we might need to pause or defer to do this.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Higgins.
Thank you. I do have Councillor Carlson. Oh, I just left my name. You left your name in. You sure you don't want a question? You're good? I can think of it. Thank you. I see no further questions, so I'll turn it over to open debate. Councillor Middleton Hope.
Good, thank you. The purpose of this motion is to more clearly outline the intent and the use of BAU accounts. I believe we have at times become less stringent with the allocating of funds in BAU accounts for specific uses, and while I wholeheartedly agree with permitting the practice of benefiting from efficiencies, I am also mindful of our responsibility to ensure financial accountability by all areas of the corporation. BAUs have been around for more than 15 years and were originally intended to use surplus to budget funds to offset future costs that could have impacts on the city and its finances. They are in effect TSFAs. I hope you don't disagree with that. It is equally important that areas of the corporation that use BAUs do so with a specific use in mind, which are approved previously or priorly by the city manager. This promotes accountability and financial efficiencies. Kindly support this motion that asks administration to conduct a fulsome review of our BAU process and that they are prepared to present their analysis to both Audit SPC and Economic SPC and ultimately to a council meeting on the timeline agreed to by Mr. Matthews. Thank you.
I do have Deputy Mayor Croson in. Deputy Mayor Croson.
Thank you, Mayor Higgins. I will be voting against this, not because it isn't a worthy cause, but as I alluded to in my questioning, we do have some other priorities that council is working on. As well, it's already built into our 4-year cycle as council that we do policy reviews both through governance and through audit committee. So audit committee should be looking at its policies over the next 4 years as part of their process. It may not be this year because, of course, with the budget year coming up ahead of us, there may be other priorities for audit, but it is something that audit committee should be doing over the next 4 years. So I think this will be caught through our regular processes, and so I will be voting against this, knowing it will get done regardless. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Croson. And there's no further debate, and I'll turn it back to closing. Councillor Middleton Hope.
Further, call the question.
Question's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? One opposed? Do you want to do a roll call? I think we got that. Okay. Thank you. Next, I will turn it back over to Acting Mayor Dodick for 6.3. Did you? Oh, you got it?
I got it. Okay, so it's item 6.3, resolution sponsored by Mayor Higgin, official business support for interventional cardiac services program, cardiac catheterization lab in Lethbridge. Whereas neither Lethbridge nor the South Zone offers invasive, emergent, and urgent treatment for acute heart attacks, and whereas heart tests and procedures including cardiac, MRI, ablation, angiogram, angioplasty are also not able to be performed locally, and whereas the travel time required for patients to be transferred to Calgary to seek interventional cardiac services is 2+ hours, and whereas cardiac catheterization is performed on patients to investigate chest discomfort that may be caused by blockages of the coronary arteries, heart valve abnormalities, or congenital birth heart defects, and whereas a bolstered cardiac program in Lethbridge and the South Zone would improve and strengthen cardiac care in the following areas: clinical cardiology, cardiac arrhythmia care, and cardiac imaging, which result in improved health outcomes for patients. Therefore be resolved, the council approve the mayor to write a letter to the province of Alberta to request support for an increase in the scope of cardiac services offered in the South Zone, including the development of an interventional cardiac services program, cardiac catheterization lab at the Chinook Regional Hospital in Lethbridge. Mayor Higgin. Or I guess I should say, any questions?
And I can, just to mention, Dr. Ald is here. Thank you very much. Dr. Ald is in the audience. If the questions would be far better answered by someone with that knowledge than myself. So if there's any questions here, I'll try my best. If not, Dr. Ald, thank you.
Yeah, actually, I do have a question, Dr. Ald. Since you're here, I might as well get to ask you a question. How many communities in Alberta actually offer the services that we are essentially lobbying for in this letter being requested the mayor to write?
So right now, the interventional cardiology would be just in Edmonton and Calgary. I think that the provincial government announced some months ago an intention at some time in the future to have the service in Red Deer as well. And other than a somewhat longer timeline, I'm not sure what the exact timeline is on that. So right now, we would be like all other regional centers in not offering it.
At the risk of stating the obvious, clearly you would be in favor of something like this, and it would be very good for cardiac patients in Lethbridge and surrounding area.
I can, yeah, if the mayor doesn't mind, I don't mind putting that into context a little bit. It's a very timely issue to come up, and we've just completed. It's taken a little, well, we haven't completed it yet. It's taken a little over a year to draft one of our first full scope service plans for clinical services coming out of South Zone, which is our cardiology service plan. And then many of the services that are mentioned in here, the devices and arrhythmia treatment, cardiac imaging, clinical cardiology, the additional one being prevention and rehabilitation of cardiac patients, are actually all of those. We have a plan to deliver all of those services together. We know that, for example, what that plan identified was a need over time to recruit more cardiologists in order to support all of the care. And then really the intervention, we sometimes think of it as being at the interventional treatment is one of the most specialized treatments that gets offered, but we do think it fits well with our cardiology service plan. And so it's certainly a decision that the City Council and the Mayor can make to make that recommendation to have interventional cardiac services, but I would say that it fits very well with that cardiac service plan, which currently is just at sort of the final levels of getting approval within AHS.
Thank you, Dr. Ald. I see Councillor Campbell has a question as well.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Just wanted, Dr. Ald, I think it's a fabulous letter to write, but I just wonder what's the data as far as patients that could have used this service over the course of the last couple of years or whatever, however you want to look back at it. I mean, obviously a crucial service, and how many people have missed getting this, if you've got that.
Sure. So I don't have exact numbers at my fingertips, but it is one of the things that gets looked at. And essentially, it's important to remember that we have access to those services in Calgary, which is 2 hours away by vehicle or however long it takes to fly there by air ambulance. And so typically, those interventional cardiac services will get offered to our patients as well. It's further from home. And then given that a cardiac, an event like a myocardial infarction, the treatment is time sensitive. And so the sooner that you can get that treatment, the better. It's really not a simple thing to quantify, well, what does that mean in terms of in either lives or future illness in terms of, well, if it takes longer to get the treatment. But we know that in principle, the sooner you can, the better. And then the other important part is just having the critical mass of the people to deliver all of the services, which the complete service would include interventional services. So I won't give exact numbers, but just say that that's some of the stuff that gets looked at.
Would these really enhance like paramedics that show up? Is that the intention? When there's an acute heart attack, how does that actually put into place?
Depends somewhat on where you are. Typically, your first point of contact will be our emergency medical services.
Okay.
It depends where you are in the zone, and then what's going on with you, whether potentially you would be transferred directly to a place that can do interventional service, or whether you'd be assessed in an emergency department first.
So you wouldn't be assessing it like at a home or at a hockey rink or wherever.
Yeah, that would be the initial point of assessment, and then further assessment as needed and as appropriate, depending on what's happening.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Middleton Hope.
Thank you. Doctor, just one question in regards to capacity. Do we not have a cath lab facility available now at the regional hospital but unused?
We have, so I would say that we've looked at this too as part of our cardiac service planning, which again across the zone. So we've looked at what's available in Medicine Hat as well. And I think it's fair to say that would be further down the road at the implementation time of doing something like this, that we know we've got space, and we've got shelved in space. And again, not for just the interventional cardiology, but for things like the cardiac care unit beds that would support that kind of care. So it's all kind of been penciled out. And I think it's fair to say we have space without, I'm stepping a little outside of my area of expertise, but without a major renovation to create that space.
Thank you.
The city clerk doesn't see any further questioners. So debate, Mayor Higgin?
I'll say for closing, if there's anyone that needs to debate.
Yeah, I actually would like to say something, and it's kind of interesting. A couple of minutes before this meeting started, I was just informed that a friend of mine who I used to go fishing with up in Prince Rupert on a regular basis just passed away from likely had a cardiac element to it. I don't have any details on that, but this is a man who passed way too young, as often those who suffer cardiac arrest or heart attacks often are wont to do. And so I find this to be a particularly timely time to be having this this particular resolution. And obviously, I will, wholeheartedly support it. I see Councillor Middleton Hope, you have something?
Thank you, Your Sub-Worship. Having been through this process that required cardiac intervention in Lethbridge but care in Calgary, I wholeheartedly support this initiative. The time-consuming trip to Calgary by 2 paramedics who are then dispatched to other communities on the way home is a waste of our resources, not to mention the potential impacts on patients' health care. Dr. Imtaz Ali, Chief of Cardiac Surgery at the Liban CV Institute at the Foothills Hospital in Calgary, informed me that the Chinook Regional Hospital has the space allocated for this cath lab, as we've been informed, and that the Foothills receives between 20 and 30 requests booked per week from Southern Alberta for some form of cardiac care. This is a necessary initiative in the prevention and care of Southern Alberta cardiac patients, and so therefore I fully support it. Thank you.
Mayor Higgin, closing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's, heart disease is real, and it's taken the lives of so many. We've heard the stories. I know that I've myself have had issues within our family, and so you don't have to go very far to find someone that has had heart disease and the results of not getting the care that's needed. And some of the cardiac service planning that was talking about, I just want to touch base on a few things, current state challenges, statistics, and opportunities. The South Zone covers a large geographical area of southern Alberta that reaches into British Columbia and western Canada, or western Saskatchewan. It's serviced by 2 regional hospitals located in Lethbridge and Medicine Hat, and 14 other acute care community health care centers in rural areas. South Zone is grossly underserved with regards to cardiac inpatient and community-based services. This leads to a suboptimal standard of care and compromised access to quality cardiac services. A large number of patients receiving cardiac care and follow-up must access both basic and advanced cardiac services outside of the zone, we've already heard, in Calgary or Edmonton. So some of the challenges, the in-hospital death rate following a heart attack is higher in the South Zone than in zones with a cardiac catheterization lab, so that's being in Calgary and Edmonton. Each year, about 1,300 patients are referred to the Foothills Medical Center for cardiac catheterization. The distance of Calgary is outside the gold standard of care for patients with the most serious type of heart attack who may benefit from immediate cardiac catheterization. Ambulance costs, combined ground, fixed wing, or STARS, from the South Zone to Foothills Medical Center for cardiac service are astronomical, approaching $2 million every year. Community patients referred to doctors to Calgary must find their own transportation, adding stress due to inclement weather and/or traffic congestion. It's especially burdensome for seniors and those without financial resources for travel. Some of the statistics: South Zone population 2019 was estimated about 308,811, with a projected growth of 10% by 2030. As of 2018, the South Zone has the highest percentage of people aged 65 years or older that are expected to increase to 19% by 2026. In Canada, heart disease is the second leading cause of death. In the South Zone, the top cause of death is due to disease and disorders of the circulatory system, such as heart attack and stroke. Cardiac services are among the top 4 reasons patients require admission to a hospital in the South Zone. The number of people with heart disease is growing as a result of people living longer with chronic conditions and risk factors that include obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. Each year, 500 people in the South Zone are admitted to hospital with a heart attack. Some of the opportunities we have: we can reduce the wait time for cardiac care, which in turn will reduce hospital length of stay, improve patient outcomes and quality of life by reducing the risk of complication and death during and after a heart attack, better serve a growing and aging population, which is expected to require increasing numbers of cardiac procedures in the coming years, stimulate recruitment and retention of additional heart specialists to Southern Alberta, support the educational, diagnostic, and treatment programs necessary to improve the delivery of overall cardiac care in the South Zone, enhance patients and family experience providing care closer to home with reduced travel, eliminate expensive air and ground ambulance transportation to Calgary each year. So just some of the background is to the current state, challenges, statistics, and some opportunities. And we'd heard an announcement, and I'm sure we've all could go back to the $1.9 billion that was just announced for Red Deer for their hospital, which would include a catheterization lab. And that, from any understanding and thing that I've read, will come online in about 2030, 2031. Now, if that's forward, it's just what is out there anecdotally, that it's 2030, 2031. And it is my understanding that this could be done much quicker here within our community and would help those that are definitely in need of having this service. So with that, I will call for the vote, or pass on to Acting Mayor to call for the vote. Ask for your support.
Yes, the question has been called. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Auld, for being here to answer the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's skip over to some bylaws here, and we'll move to 7.1.2, and that is a bylaw amendment to bylaw 6099, the city manager bylaw. For second reading, be it resolved that bylaw 6356, amendment to bylaw 6099, the city manager bylaw, be given a second reading. Councillor Middleton Hope. Question's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? So carries. For third reading, be it resolved that bylaw 6356, amendment to bylaw 6099, the city manager bylaw, be given third reading, and the manager and city clerk be authorized to sign and seal the same. Councillor Middleton Hope. Question's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? So carries. All right. We do have a bylaw 6355, amendment to bylaw 3446, the streets bylaw, 7.2.1 for first reading. Be it resolved that bylaw 6355, amendment to bylaw 3446, the streets bylaw be given first reading. Deputy Mayor Crowson.
Call the question.
Question's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? Carries. Second reading, be it resolved that bylaw 6355, amendment to bylaws 3446, the streets bylaw be given second reading. Deputy Mayor Crowson.
Thank you, Mayor Higgin. Essentially, what we're putting in here is a notwithstanding clause in this bylaw to allow for micromobility devices to operate on our sidewalks. And so I would ask for my colleagues' support on this. And unless there's any questions, I'll call the vote.
I see no questions. Question's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? So carries. Consent to do all three readings in one meeting. Be it resolved that third reading proceed today with the authorization of unanimous consent of council in accordance with section 184, bracket 4 of the Municipal Government Act. Council must unanimously agree to consider third reading. So a call the question on that. All in favor? Any opposed? That carries, which takes us to third reading. Be it resolved that bylaw 6355, amendment to bylaw 3446, the streets bylaw be given third reading and the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign and seal the same. Deputy Mayor Crowson.
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? Carries. And we will to 8.1, snow and ice modifications, pathways along roadways, from Deputy Mayor Crowson. Be it resolved the City Council adopt the service level enhancements for snow and ice control for pathways along roadways by moving priority 3B routes for priority 2 routes as identified in attachment 1. Deputy Mayor Crowson.
Thank you, Mayor Higgin. As I noted, that this is coming from Civic Works, and it is actually a service level enhancement, which is something that's under the purview of City Council to approve or not. And what is being done here is priority 3B routes are being moved to priority 2 routes beginning in 2022-2023 winter season. And this would actually mean an enhancement in service within the current budget. So the community will be getting better service within the budget that we currently have. This would actually align with the maintenance recommendations from both the Mobility Accessibility Master Plan and the Cycling Master Plan. And it supports improved mobility of the city-controlled pathways and sidewalks, linking up with what is happening at transit as well. And as part of this, I would just like to say kudos to the staff who worked on this, because how they're going to achieve this is by using higher speed plows to get the work done quicker, as I said, within the current budget that we have. That's my opening, and if there are any questions, I'll take them or address them through the city manager.
Councillor Carlson, is it a question or debate?
Question, thank you, Mayor Higgin. Through you to city manager or designate, have some of these enhancements already been implemented? I know that some neighbors in my area have commented on how pleased they are by the speed at which some of the pathways are cleared after snowfall, because a lot of my community uses mobility devices or bicycles to get around rather than cars. And I've noticed, or they've commented to me, that the pathways have been cleared much faster than ever before this year. And I was wondering if we'd already implemented some of these enhancements.
Through your worship, our General Manager of Transportation is here. I'll leave him to speak to the specifics.
The quick answer is no, the service levels have not been adjusted. We've just had an extremely good winter. So the Parks Department can do those parks faster. Essentially, the regional parks, they're already a priority 2. They were done a lot faster because it hasn't been snowing nearly as much. And so even the regional trails, the priority 3B, were gotten to faster because there wasn't nearly as much snow. If you remember 2018 or other years, it was 10 to 15 days until we got to some of those priority 3B parks because there was much more snow. So the snow policy actually requires us to go back to City Council for the pathways because the CC 34 set that service level. Council adopted that policy. So we have to go back to City Council anytime we switch a service level. So that's the reason we're here.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell, and thank you, Mayor Hagan. Just then, on behalf of some of the neighbors in my neighborhood, pass on the kudos for the speed at which things got done, but I guess I'll pass it on to Mother Nature instead. Thank you.
Councillor Carlson. Councillor Middleton-Hope.
Thank you. I guess this question would probably be to Mr. Jewell. In the report, it indicates that there's a nominal increase in equipment costs of about $30,000. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We have the current trucks already, 4x4 trucks, but we don't have snowplows for those trucks. So that's basically buying 3 $10,000 snow blades so we can put on those trucks. They're not our standard dual tandem truck we do on roadways. This is 4x4 trucks that we can do on the pathways much faster. If we can't get that done fast, then we'll use the current tool cats that Parks uses right now. So a combination of both vehicles.
So what are the labor costs? What are the additional labor costs? Because you're going to need more people to be able to use this equipment to get the roads done faster or the pathways done faster. So what's the implications for labor?
Right now, we have 24 full-time laborers, operators, to do all of the snow and ice control. So we would really reallocate some of those current operators. As well, we have about 20 part-time, they're called 0 to 40 labor. So in a major storm, we will call in extra labor. But yeah, unless there's a major storm, we use our current labor and we just reallocate. So basically, they will be on a 4x4 truck plowing the pathways versus doing some other snow and ice control work. So it's balancing that labor out and increasing the speed at which we do the pathways.
So you're suggesting that there will not be an increase in labor costs as a result of this request?
No, there will definitely be a labor cost increase in an average year because there are storms in the average year. But I'll give you an example. 2021, we started an intersection crew dedicated by the Transportation Department. In 2021, we've spent, I think it's $60,000 roughly for the full year. That all came out of our snow and ice control budget. The transit bus stop contract crew, we started that in 2017. That also comes from our snow and ice control budget. That is about $72,000 per year on an average year. Some years it goes up from that, some years it goes down. But overall, we'll be able to balance the snow and ice control services, including this service enhancement, that we don't have to ask for a budget increase in our current operating budget.
That includes the subcontractors that you also provide for?
Yes, we have a lot of different subcontractors doing either snow and ice control, snow removal, even the canyon pathway, that is contracted out. Snow and ice control pays for that contract for the pathway going down Canyon Boulevard. And then there's other contracted, the transit is a contract as well. That all comes out of 42,000 snow and ice control transportation budget.
Okay, good, thank you.
Seeing no further questions. And this is Deputy Mayor Crowson to open debate.
As I noted, this is being done within the current budget, so there is no additional budget request, and this is a service enhancement to our community. Unless there is further debate, I'll call the question.
I see no further debate. Question's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? So carries. And to my colleagues, I'm going to call a quick 5-minute for a little bio break / grab a coffee if you could, 5 minutes, and we'll revert back here, let's say 2:45, 7 minutes. All right. Welcome back. I tell you what, my 7 minutes. Gosh, I feel like I'm doing a provincial announcement or something. Anyways, all right. On that, we'll move to 10.1. From Councillor Carlson, we have a resolution here, Blackfoot Family Lodge Society Capital Grant Request. And it's my understanding, actually, I'll turn to yourself.
Thank you, Mayor Higgin. This, I hope everyone's read through this. This is just for council's information, but I think there may be some questions on this. I did have one, if I can, through you to City Manager or Designate. It says at one point on phase 3 that admin will be collaborating with the Blackfoot Family Lodge Society to secure external grants. Is there anything City Council or Advocacy Committee can be working on or assisting with in that process?
I will defer to Mr. Fox for any further comments on that.
Thank you, and through the chair, I believe that if council would like, I believe there's been a big announcement at the province with municipal housing funding, and advocacy is always a good thing to do. And CSD will be working with the Blackfoot Family Lodge on exploring those, and as opportunities come up, if advocacy could be on behalf of the council, it would be welcomed. So I believe the proponent is here today in the audience and would answer any questions about either phase 1, 2, or 3. And they've worked very well with staff on coming to some good resolutions and a path forward. So if you have any questions for them today, and they've also provided a video. If it's council's wishes, we could play the video, and it gives you sort of a snapshot of what the development will look like, and it's very well done.
Thank you for that. Second question, and then through I'll just ask it to Mayor Higgin and Agenda Review Committee, which forms our Advocacy Committee. Is this something that would be on the radar, or does it need to be referred by council for something to be on the radar for advocacy work, or is it just a matter of course when those meetings happen if something comes up?
You know what, I think speak with the city clerk here, if there's, what you've heard here, is this something that could be brought forward to Agenda Review Committee just to be on an action item?
Either one of those, it can go to Agenda Review Committee, and Agenda Review Committee can direct it to advocacy, or council can refer, or administration can bring something to advocacy. There's much.
Okay, so admin could, if administration is working with Blackfoot Family Lodge, they can bring it directly to advocacy. Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. And we do have, actually, go to Acting Mayor Dodick.
I just have a question. Is there someone from the planning department that can answer it? Some people get confused about direct control and zoning issues because the second page of the report says the facility is currently governed by a direct control bylaw to accommodate transitional housing and daycare facility and culture program, and a development permit will be required for this project. So if someone just could explain, because some people have had questions as to what the process is in terms of moving the project over. So explaining the direct control designation and what's involved in terms of development permits.
No, we don't have Maureen here, but I will just get in contact with her and see if we can get her online in a minute.
Yeah, Michael Kelly. No, Michael. Sure, why not? Just what direct control means and what the proponent will have to follow in terms of getting a development permit.
Here's Maureen.
Oh. Sorry, Michael.
Tapped out.
He was so ready. He was so ready. Did you get the question?
Just the first part, and then I was running down the hallway.
Okay,
so if you could repeat it, that would be good.
Right. This site is governed by a direct control bylaw, and at some point it will require a development permit. So just so that people understand what's involved, is explain direct control in the context of this and what the development permit process will entail, just so people have an understanding. Thanks.
Sure. So a direct control district is used for a particular parcel when the proponents can't accomplish what they'd like to with a conventional district. So when this site was rezoned way back when, Mr. Kelly and myself were involved in that rezoning in order to create the situation for transitional housing and the daycare to occur. So at that time, the direct control district was written fairly flexible just because of the nature of the site. And so we're in a good position now to be able to capitalize on that. And the development permit will be coming in for a permitted use for both the daycare and as well the housing development.
Some people don't understand the difference between permitted uses versus discretionary uses. So please explain that to them. It can be confusing for some.
Sure. So a permitted use by right, as long as there's no waivers or the development authority has not misunderstood what's being applied for, can't be appealed. So a discretionary use may or may not be appropriate on the site based on a number of factors. So.
My final question is this: you said you and Mr. Kelly had been involved in this. How long has it been a direct control district?
2008.
Okay, so anyone searching the property would have known by 2008 that it was a direct control.
That's correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next we have, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Crowson. And we do have a video here I'd like to be able to see after, and maybe we'll put that in after Deputy Mayor Crowson.
Thank you, Mayor Higgins. This question is for the city manager or designate. Has City Council already approved this capital grant request?
Through the chair, it is an administrative process that a council has approved, that anything under 300,000 and less, once going through the municipal housing grant process, can be awarded by administration. So this did go through a process for about 7 or 8 weeks, and there was lots of back and forth between administration and the proponent, and they met all of the parts of that and was awarded the 300. The reason why it is here today is earlier, about 3 months ago, I believe it was decided to bring it direct to council and direct it to administration, and that was from an agenda review committee with the cultural and social SPC.
Okay. My question comes from the fact that if you actually read the policy, once an application is deemed complete by City of Lethbridge administration, the application will be presented to City Council for approval, not information, for approval. So we do have a discord between the policy that we have in front of us and the motion in front of us.
Through the chair, I'll have to look into that because it may be an old version. My recollection and talking with all the staff is that anything 300,000 and less does not require City Council approval.
Yeah, we do need to get clarification. Thank you.
Right, if we could have that, and in the meantime, if we could queue up the video and play that, would be great. Excellent. Thank you very much for that. The picture speaks a million words. The video does about 10 times that, right? So it was great to see. Hey, did we get an answer to that, Mr. City Manager?
Through your worship, we've found one. Mr. Matthews is just taking a little look to confirm so far based on policy CC 49 from June 2021. Mr. Fox's statements are correct, but we're just making a final confirmation.
Yeah, I'll turn the question over then, or Councillor Carlson does have a question.
Thank you. It was actually in relation to that. Under application information B, it does say that the application will be presented to City Council for approval. I think that's probably what Deputy Mayor Crowson saw. So it's just some language, because then further down under responsibilities, City of Lethbridge Administration, G, approve funding for $300,000 or less. So there's just a bit of a disconnect. We probably just need to change the language in the application information to under B to say once an application is deemed complete, the application will be presented to City Council for approval if in excess of $300,000. And so that's probably what caused the confusion, but I think, yes, the intent is for administration for $300,000 or below. Anything above that, council must approve.
Correct. All right. Does that, so now we do have looking like a change to, an addition, I guess, just for clarification purposes, right?
I think we need to amend the policy just by adding a little bit of language for that clarity. Thank you.
Agreed.
Or we could amend the motion for today and make it council approved and then have the policy amended later.
I think under the policy, it's already been approved. So that may be moot to do it that way.
Right. With that, any further questions? I'll move on to debate. Is anybody, I guess starting with Councillor Carlson?
Thanks, Mayor Higgin. I appreciate the information coming forward to council, keeping us in the loop and alerting us to the next phases so that we can be of assistance where possible. Unless there's anything further, I'll call for the vote.
I do have someone in the queue here. Councillor Middleton Hope for debate.
Thank you. I just wanted to compliment those who are responsible for not only proposing this project, but also the work that's gone into it. In particular, the attention to detail where crime prevention through environmental design has been addressed, and the safety of occupants who will be at this center. You've done a very fulsome review, and I presume that you've engaged either a SEPTED assessor or somebody who has expertise in the area. So I just simply wanted to compliment you on that attention to detail, so thank you.
I'd like to add support here in that I've had the opportunity of being there a couple times at the facility when the federal and provincial funding was brought in, and the excitement that was there, and I'd like to commend you all for thinking outside the box, looking for other funding sources, and it looks like that will continue here with our department. So thank you very much for that and opening up those horizons. So appreciate it. And if there's none further, I'll turn over to Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Mayor Hagan. Nothing further. Just again, thank you for providing council the information today. Call for the vote.
The vote's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? So carries. All right. And Councillor Parker, you're still on?
Yes, I am.
Oh, good. Bonus vote. I do have a resolution from Councillor Campbell. Request for Downtown Lethbridge Business Revitalization Zone 2022 Budget Decision 10.2. Be it resolved that City Council approve the proposed 2022 Downtown Lethbridge Business Revitalization Zone DBRZ budget as presented in the attachment. And I do see that Ms. Ames is on Teams to answer any questions. So.
Sure, I'll open it up. 2 questions, if there are any.
I see no questions.
This is, we do this every year. It's sort of the process. The budget meeting of the Downtown Business Revitalization Zone held on February the 7th. The budget was approved. It comes before council. We see it, and it would be, unless there's any other objections, we would approve this budget. With that, any other debate?
No further debate.
And I will call for the vote.
Question's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? That so carries. And thank you, Ms. Ames, for hanging out with us this afternoon. Appreciate it. All right, next we have a resolution from Actor Dodick? Is that okay? Acting Mayor Dodick. Donations to Ukraine, 10.3. Be resolved that City Council approve the donation of expired or surplus items to Ukrainian relief efforts as identified below. It says medical kits, various brands, traction splints, poles and canvas cot, disposable medical equipment, vascular access. It includes a number of things which should be up on the screen there: wound care items, airway, PPE, and clothing. I will turn that over to Acting Mayor Dodick.
Yes, as indicated in the agenda package under 10.3, the council report, it's indicated that these items that we're donating to the Ukraine are either expired or surplus items, and they're obviously to aid in the Ukrainian relief efforts. I think it's incumbent on council, when they're able to do so, to act in situations like this. So accordingly, I would ask for council support with respect to this resolution.
Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Mayor Higgin. Through you to either the mover or City Manager or Mr. Adair, who I see on the screen. I'm just wondering, I appreciate this coming forward, there are other organizations in our community that may also have donations going to the Ukraine or other surplus items. I'm just thinking of some. I know that Lethbridge Senior Citizen Organizations got donations of masks and PPE, et cetera, et cetera. I'm noticing some of those in here. Organizations like Green Acres may have surplus items as well. They do medical work as well. I'm just wondering if we've reached out, rather than just us sending whatever we have, if there are other organizations in town, if we all got together and said, yeah, we've got this, we've got this, we've got this, it might increase the donation somefold. Have we reached out or made it be known that we're doing this and other organizations can come forward to help out?
So I know Chief has been coordinating a lot of this, so I will leave him to answer his efforts to date on that.
There, Chief Adair.
Good afternoon. We were approached by a retired captain here in Lethbridge who was working with the Ukrainian organization out of Calgary, and he had just asked us. So he's actually the individual who's looking and seeking for the donations. I can't speak to what other organizations or efforts he has gone through with the rest of our community. We're just, I guess, we just gathered up what we could from the request that was made on behalf of him.
Okay, thank you. So we're not the ones actually or coordinating this, but perhaps in our communications, and we can make, thank you, Mr. Cool, we can make sure that the community is aware, so that there are other groups that could partner up or contribute, they would know, because that would be, the bigger bang for the buck is what I'm looking for, so thank you.
And it's a really good point. I do see that there's, during the interview here on television here with this retired captain, he'd asked for anybody that he would be able to take this and get it up to the correct place to have it sent out from Calgary. So I know that is something that has been requested. So Councillor Middleton Hope.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick comment to Councillor Carlson. There are other organizations, police services, police veterans associations, and I like your comment in regards to coordination of efforts. That seems to make a good deal of sense, Chief. So I'll leave it with you. I just have one comment in regards to this initiative. How are the materials going to be transported to, I'm looking at him over here, how, how are they going to be transported over to the Ukraine and get to the right people? And is there a request coming forward for transportation costs, or has that been considered?
Yes, thank you for the question. So the transportation, there will be no request for transportation costs. The individual who's organizing it here in Lethbridge will actually, he himself, be transporting it to Calgary, who will then be joining the group out of Calgary who's shipping it to Toronto at their cost and through their donations. From Toronto, it's picked up through the Ukraine group in Toronto and sent on, I believe it's Merrick Transportation, which will take 2 days to actually reach the front lines in Ukraine. So we're not part of any of that, but we weren't asked for any money or funding to actually transport that. That would all be taken care of through this individual who's organizing it.
Good, thank you.
Seeing no further questions or debate, any debate? Acting Mayor Dodick.
Call the question.
Question's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? So carries. I do have a resolution from Acting Mayor Dodick, Electric Utility Compliance Update 10.4. Be it resolved that Council approve the submission of 2021 Code of Conduct Compliance Report to the Alberta Utilities Commission, AUC, as identified in Attachment 1. Acting Mayor Dodick.
The report is self-explanatory, unless you have any questions. If you do, don't have them of me. And accordingly, I would call the question.
No questions. Question's been called. All in favor? You opposed? Oh, wait a minute. Councillor Middleton Hope.
Yeah, hang on a minute.
Hang on.
I just have a question in regards to the language in the document. I'm unclear on this, and perhaps someone can clarify it for me. The Code of Conduct Compliance, is this about personnel or is it about process?
It's about process, but Mr. Drenth from our electric utility is here and can add anything further.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Councillors. So yeah, this code of conduct, it's around process. So the AUC requires the Lethbridge Electric Utility as a regulated entity to have a compliance plan in place to make sure that we don't get involved in the deregulated or the unregulated world, the marketing, retailing side of the business. So we have a plan in place that just says we will train our employees, we will have a plan and keep it updated, and we report any findings of non-compliance to the AUC. So that's our requirement, and this document just states that, you know, we review it annually, we've done all that, we have the records, and now we're in a position that we can report that we have no reports of non-compliance for 2021. That's what this does.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it, and I'm glad that you didn't have an opportunity to waste your time coming down here. Now you've had a chance to explain.
Thanks.
Further questions? I think the question was called, and we'll do this again. All in favor?
I'll call the question again.
All in favor? Any opposed? So carries. Thank you. Let's do that. So let's move to number 12, City Council updates. Does anyone have any updates? Reports? No updates there. And we'll move to closed motions. So from Councillor Middleton Hope, the Airport Incentive Framework Update 14.1, be it resolved the City Council direct that the closed meeting discussion with respect to the Airport Incentive Framework Update remain confidential pursuant to Section 23, harmful to economic and other interests of the public body, and 24, advice from officials of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Councillor Middleton Hope. Question's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? So carries. Next, we have a resolution from Councillor Palladino. Closed meeting infrastructure services update 14.2. Be resolved that City Council direct that the closed meeting discussions with respect to the infrastructure services update remain confidential pursuant to Section 21, harmful to intergovernmental relations, and 24, advice from officials of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. And further be resolved that City Council authorize administration to proceed with the confidential direction provided in closed section. Councillor Palladino. Your mic's off. Question's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? That's so carries. Next, we have a resolution moved by Councillor Schmidt-Rempel, closed meeting ratification of organizational representative members on boards, commissions, and committees, and appointment of public members of boards, to boards, commissions, and committees. 14.3, be resolved that City Council direct that the closed meeting discussion with respect to the ratification of organizational representative members on boards, commissions, and committees, and appointment of public members to boards, commissions, and committees, and remain confident, I got an E in there, remain confidential pursuant to section 17, harmful to personal privacy, 19, confidential evaluations, 23, local public body confidences, and 24, advice from officials of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. And further be resolved that Council ratify the following organizational representative members on Council's boards, commissions, and committees, BCCs, effective immediately as follows. Tammy Bellinger, Windy City Canine Rescue Representative for the Animal Welfare Committee for a 2-year term expiring on December 31st, 2023, and Carol Tuna as the No Kill Alliance NOCA representative for the Animal Welfare Committee for 2-year term expiring December 31st, 2023. And further be resolved that Council appoint the following public members to serve on Council's board, commissions, and committees effective immediately as follows. Kelty Baird to the Heart of the City Committee for a 2-year term expiring on December 31st, 2023, and Judith Ramos to the Lethbridge Library Board for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2024, and Senz Arasi to the Animal Welfare Committee for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2024, and Morgan Elmans to the Assessment Review Board for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2024. I have an and after that, but I believe that is it, correct, Madam? Okay. And we'll turn that over to Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
I'll call the question.
Question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? So carries. And another one of a closed meeting, land sale 14.4, Councillor Parker. Be it resolved that the City Council direct a closed meeting discussion with respect to the land sale remain confidential pursuant to section 23, local public body confidences, and 24, advice from officials of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. And further be resolved that Council approve the land sale of 1,214 square feet, more or less, of 221 Cooley Springs Terrace South to Garth T. Graham and Susie E. Graham with the following terms. Garth T. Graham and Susie E. Graham to transfer of 14.66 square feet, more or less, of 223 Cooley Springs Terrace South at a value of $74 to the City of Lethbridge. And number 2, a deposit of $2,000 non-refundable. Number 3, a purchase price of $6,070. And number 4, closing date June 1st, 2022. Councillor Parker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just I have no issues with this. Our administration has done their due diligence. There hasn't been any issues with any of the departments in regards to the sale of this land, and I just ask for council support.
All right. With that, question's been called. Any questions? No? Question's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? So carries. All right. And now we will take a break until 4 p.m. to our public hearing. All right, welcome to the public hearing for, oh gosh, let's remember the date here again. Yes, thank you, for Tuesday, March 22nd, bylaw 6349. Call to order the public hearing for bylaw 6349, amendment to bylaw 6301 to provide for the closing of a portion of 4th Avenue North. And I think council has all received the information, has had the opportunity to look at it, and there will be available for questions after. And if there's anybody else that wants to hear more, we can hit that up after we go through, if there's anybody else that wants to make any more comments on this. So anyone that wishes to speak to this bylaw will then be called upon. We'll then ask 3 times if there's anyone else who wishes to make a presentation. City Council will then have the opportunity to ask questions of any of the presenters. The hearing will then be closed. Consideration of second and third reading will be made by City Council immediately following the public hearing. And I know that I was going to call Donald up for a background of the case, but we have reviewed that and have went through it. And if there's any questions, we can ask them after. So, are there any members of the public that wish to make a presentation on this matter? For a second time, are there any members of the public that wish to make a presentation on this matter? And for a third and final time, are there any members of the public that wish to make a presentation on this matter? Hearing no other presenters, it is now time for City Council to ask questions of the presenters. Councillor Middleton Hope.
Is this just a technical issue?
Yes, correct, Councillor Hope. That is just a technical issue that found by Land Title Office, and they're just requesting us to make an update change that they made an error on.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Any further questions? No further questions. Hearing none, I now declare the public hearing closed. This matter may be decided later this afternoon following the public hearing. Come back to a City Council meeting. Oh, do you need some more time? You're good? Okay. Bylaw 6349, amendment to bylaw 6301 to provide for the closing of a portion of 4th Avenue North for a second reading. Be resolved that bylaw 6349, amendment to bylaw 6301 to provide for a closing of a portion of 4th Avenue North be given second reading. Do I have someone that would sponsor that? Sure. Okay. Acting Mayor Dodick?
Call the question.
Self-explanatory. Question's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? Carries. And for a third reading, from Acting Mayor Dodick, be it resolved that bylaw 6349, amendment to bylaw 6301 to provide for closing of a portion of 4th Avenue North be given third reading and the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign and seal the same. Acting Mayor Dodick.
Third reading, call the question.
Question's been called. All in favor? Any opposed? So carries. And with that, we are closed on the City Council meeting for today.